Tonight, far from any city and even farther from mercy, 3 people are trapped in a place where the air itself can punish you for breathing. They have 1 injured man, 1 thin margin of time, and 1 decision that cannot be taken back. If they choose wrong, they will not just lose a life. They had minutes, not hours, to keep Thane Arlo alive in Grey Brine Basin on Namera Salt Marsh. If his oxygen line failed in the next 10 minutes, he would drown in his own lungs before help could even pretend to arrive. If Kira Morn, the crew's field medic and survival lead, logged the wrong medicine in her kit, Calyx Extractives would send a recovery team. Wraithline Collective would follow the paperwork the way sharks follow blood. Kira kept the plan small because panic wastes oxygen. Get Thane out of the crushed bay, seal a clean pocket of air, and build drown-like camp before the fog thickened. One question ruled everything in her head. Could she keep him breathing without turning their survival into a signal flare? The dropship lay half sunk in brine mud, tilted like it wanted to vanish. Wind shoved salt spray through a torn seam, and low fog crawled along the ground like smoke that hated light. Kira hooked her gloves into a bent frame and pulled until her shoulders burned. "Thane, stay with me," she said. A wet rasp answered. His chest rose in broken pieces, each breath scraping, each cough stealing what little air he had left. Kira heard the hiss of leaking pressure and tasted metal, like the wreck itself was chewing on them. Joran Pike, the salvage tech, shoved a jack under a beam. The jack squealed, metal shifted, and Thane's shoulder came free. Kira slid her arms under his back, careful with his ribs. "On 3, she said. "3, Joran said. They hauled, boots sliding, mud sucking at every step. Thane sagged between them like a man made of wet cloth in pain. They dragged him to firmer ground, near iron root stalks that rose like twisted nails. Kira threw down a work tarp, snapped open a battered habitat sleeve, and taped it to a crate frame. A portable filter whined, then settled into a steady pitch. The sound was ugly, but it was air you could trust. Thane's eyes fluttered open and locked on Kira. His lips were turning a color she refused to name. "Don't talk," she said. "Save air." "What? Where?" He tried. He coughed, and the cough stole the rest of the sentence. "Grey Brine Basin," Kira said. "Fog down low will burn your lungs. We stay inside." Joran crawled in and sealed the sleeve. The air smelled like plastic and old metal, but it was clean enough to keep you alive. Outside, the marsh hissed as wind moved through salt grass, and the wreck creaked with slow, angry settling. Kira pressed 2 fingers to Thane's neck and counted. Too fast. His chest wall moved shallow and tight, like he was holding a door shut with his ribs. "We need a real fix," Joran said, voice low. Kira opened her field triage case and laid out a pressure patch, a small scan pad, and a thin oxygen line. The line was short, and everything else was short too, including time. If the filter pulled too much power, Calyx would see the spike and paint a lane straight to them. She leaned close to Thane. "Listen, I keep you breathing. Then we build water and power. That is the order." Thane gave the smallest nod he could manage. It was not trust. It was surrender to the only plan left. Kira had one option that could keep him alive past the next hour, and she hated it. Regan Vector 9 sat in foam with a warning band and a frost seal cold chain tag. It was a gene therapy shot meant to kick tissue repair back on when the body was losing the fight. Kira forced herself to say the truth out loud, because fear grows teeth when you dance around it. It might save him. It might slam his immune system into a fever storm. And it could leave a trail in the kit record if the case ever spoke to a beacon. Joran watched her hand hover. "That's Calyx stock. Is that even allowed?" "Allowed doesn't keep him breathing," Kira said. "We don't have a hospital. We have tape and a filter." Thane's eyes opened again, clearer for a second, then dimmed as his lungs fought. "If it saves me," he whispered. The whisper cost him. Kira checked the tag. The frost seal strip was like the little freezer sticker on a food shipment. It tells you if something warmed up when it should not, and the strip had already flipped. "The cold broke in the crash," she said. Joran's jaw tightened. "So it might be bad. It might be weaker," Kira said, "or it might be louder. Either way, He doesn't have a safer path. She swabbed the injection site and spoke like an emergency room nurse trying to make fear smaller. This won't make you a hero. It might make you sick. Your job is to breathe slow and let me watch you. Thane's mouth twitched. Do it, he said. Kira pressed the injector. A soft click, then heat under Thane's skin. He jerked once and froze, eyes wide, like he could feel his body changing its mind about dying. The triage case chirped, and its lid screen flashed the words, Chain Ledger Activation Log Updated. Kira's stomach dropped. Chain Ledger was the kit's receipt book, and it wrote the lot band, the timestamp, and the cold chain status, so someone in an office could trace it later. Kira killed Sync with a hard press, then pulled the battery halfway loose, leaving the case unstable but alive. The truth hit hard. They were not only saving Thane, they were racing a record that could summon hunters. Will that hold? Jorn asked. It will hold until it doesn't, Kira said. We need water for him and power for the filter. We move before this thing decides to talk. Thane started shaking as the fever hit like a wave. Sweat popped across his forehead, and his teeth clicked hard enough to scare her. His breathing sped up, then fought itself, fast then shallow. Kira pinned his wrist gently, so he would not rip the oxygen line loose. Thane, look at me. Slow your breath. I can't, he rasped. You can, Kira said. Because you have to. Jorn handed her salts and half a bottle, all they could spare. Kira mixed it and pressed it to Thane's lips. Small sips. Thane drank, coughed, then drank again. The shaking eased, but the heat did not. Between fever dips, his gaze sharpened, almost too sharp, like the world had gone quieter around him. How long until Calyx finds us? He asked. When they see power, Kira said. And Wraithline comes if this log gets out. Wraithline is real? Jorn asked. They buy medical mistakes and sell them as miracles, Kira said. Thane exhaled slow. Then we stay boring, he said. We don't let the kid talk. Kira squeezed his hand once, quick and small. Then we build water. Now, they needed clean water and steady air before the next fever spike. Kira's plan was simple. Build mist catch condenser, keep brine scrub filter stack clean, and keep drown light camp sealed tight. Every job felt like fixing a broken car on the shoulder while traffic flew past. Kira cracked the sleeve seal just enough to slide an arm out. The air outside bit her throat, so she held her breath, clipped a moisture tarp to a pole, and pulled it tight like a cheap rain fly. If she breathed a low fog, she would start coughing, and coughing would make the sleeve feel smaller. Jorn worked low to the ground, staying above the fog line. Thane stayed inside, half upright, watching through plastic. His eyes tracked details, where clamps went, where boots sank, where wind shifted, and Kira did not like how alert he looked while burning up. Kira hauled a battered pump unit from wreckage and dropped it onto the tarp. The pump cough then took. Drips started, slow and real, and relief hit her, so sharp it almost hurt. Inside, the brine scrub filter stack stuttered. The pitch surged, dipped, then surged again like a skipping heartbeat. Kira popped the panel, scraped salt crystals off the intake, swapped the spare pad, and forced the unit back to a steady whine. If it failed, the sleeve became a coffin with polite walls. A soft rhythmic flash appeared through fog outside. White pulse, pause, 2 short pulses, dark. It looked like rescue, the way a porch light looks like home when you are lost. That could be a beacon, Jorn said. Not ours, Thane said, voice stronger than it should have been. Kira looked at him. How do you know? She asked. Thane listened like he could hear the shape of the light. The rhythm matches Calyx work lights, he said. They use it so people walk into their lane. Jorn went pale. So they're close. Kira kept it playing. If that light is Calyx, they're laying a path. They want us to follow it because it keeps us in sight. We do not follow it. The pulse shifted position, sliding along the fog line like something moving with purpose. Kira felt the hair on her arms lift, and that meant the lights were not just markers. They were active bait. Thane, what do we do next? She asked. We stay sealed until we have water, Thane said. Then we move away from that light before it becomes a corridor. And if your fever hits again? Kira asked. Thane held her gaze. You cool me, and you stop me from running, he said. Even if I beg. Kira snapped the sleeve seal shut and listened to the filter hum. She also listened to the distant rhythm of the echo beacon lure, steady as a metronome built to catch the desperate. The marsh was no longer the only hunter, and the night was just getting started. A short while later, they could not stay at Drownlight Camp and hope the fog would forget them. Thane Arlo needed clean air and water to survive the fever cycles from Regan Vector 9, and Kira more needed to move them away from the blinking lure before it turned into a corridor. Calyx Extractives and Wraithline Collective were close enough now that one sloppy choice would become a trail. Kira kept the goals simple so nobody could argue it into pieces. Get out of Greybrine Basin's line of sight, stay crosswind from guiding lights, and keep Thane calm so his body would not spiral. If they did that, they could buy one more night. Outside the sleeve, fog pressed low and wet against salt grass. The distant pulse that looked like rescue kept flashing, steady and confident, like it expected them to walk toward it. Thane sat braced against a crate, breathing slow through the filter hose. Sweat shined along his hairline, and the heat in his skin came and went in waves. His eyes stayed sharper than they should have been for a man running a fever. That light is not for saving anyone, he said. Kira nodded. Then we treat it like a trap. Joran Pike tightened a strap on the tool bag and tried to keep his voice light. Great, he said. We crash, we get sick, and now we get hunted. Kira did not correct him. She went straight to action. Pack the mist catch condenser, she said. Leave anything that squeaks. If it drags, cut it. A faint tone rolled through the marsh, too clean to be wind. A voice wrote a work channel, filtered and calm, the kind used to guide tired crews on job site. Survey team. Calyx Extractive's recovery route is active. Follow safety lights to a clean zone. Joran's face tightened. That is Calyx. Kira listened for a beat, not to be persuaded, but to catch the shape of the lie. The message repeated with the same gentle urgency, the same length, the same promise of help. It was designed to make panic feel managed. Thane swallowed and looked at Kira. It is a runway trick, he said. Make you think the only safe place is where they want you. Kira felt cold settle in her gut, because he was right. She had seen the method on ordinary sites, lights, markers, and calm voices that turned fear into compliance. A second sound followed the message, a soft click in the air above the fog. Kira leaned out and scanned the sky. She saw it as a darker patch against darker clouds, a shape that did not flash and did not hum. It drifted with the wind like a scrap of tarp, too patient to be trash. Hushkite drone, Kira said. Joran exhaled through his teeth. I do not hear it. That is the point, Kira said. It rides the wind, so the marsh hides the sound. Thane forced a slow breath. They are not chasing, he said. They are steering. Kira needed Joran to understand one thing right now. That corridor is not a map on paper, she said. It is lights and cues that make one path feel like the only path. It turns fog into a fence. We move before they finish building it around us. Joran nodded once, finally quiet. Kira cracked the sleeve seal and pulled their gear into the wet air. The fog burned her throat the moment she breathed wrong, so she kept her breath shallow and efficient. She strapped mist catch to her pack, clipped brine scrub into a carry frame, and checked Thane's water pouch. Thane stood with help from Joran. He moved better than he should have, but the way he clenched his jaw told Kira the cost was waiting behind his eyes. The fever had not left. It was only being managed. Slow, Kira said. I am slow, Thane replied, and his tone said he was fighting the urge to do the opposite. They left Drownlight Camp without ceremony. Kira did not look back, because looking back makes you want to return, and return was not an option. The Calyx lights pulsed again, closer now, and faint reflectors appeared between reeds. A clean lane in a dirty world, like runway lights in fog, aimed straight into the marsh. Kira turned them away from it. She angled them crosswind into deeper mud where the lane could not easily reach. Joran followed, cursing under his breath as his boots sank and released with a wet pull. Thane moved last, careful and quiet, using a metal probe to test the ground before every step. Above them, the HFY drone drifted, invisible unless you knew where to look. Kira could feel it without seeing it, like a spotlight you cannot escape. A new message came on the channel, softer, almost sympathetic. Medical support is available in the clean zone. Do not risk exposure in the fog. Thane's eyes flicked toward Kira. He did not ask, and he did not need to. Kira shook her head once. We do not go where they tell us, she said. We go where they cannot hold us. The drone slid with the wind, and the lane lights kept pulsing behind them, patient as a trap that believed time was on its side. The marsh thinned into salt flats the way a bad neighborhood opens into a bare parking lot. White salt flats stretched ahead, pale and cracked, reflecting the dim sky like dirty ice. It looked safer because it was open, and that was the first reason it was dangerous. They needed water, and they needed it before Thane's next heat spike. Mist catch would work, but it was slow, and the open flats offered no cover while it dripped. Kira chose a shallow depression near a ridge of salt, stiff grass. It was low enough to break the wind and high enough to keep them above the worst fog. She set the tarp and clipped the condenser lines with hands that shook from fatigue, not fear. Joran dropped beside her and started unpacking brine scrub. Tell me what you need, he said. Time, Kira said. And quiet. Thane stood a few steps away, staring across the flats. His throat worked when he swallowed, and Kira saw his shoulders rise a little too fast. You are thirsty, she said. I am fine, Thane said, then corrected himself. I am thirsty. Kira handed him a ration sip. Small. If you chug, you will sweat it out and crash harder. A light popped on across the flats, bright and steady, like someone set down a clean lantern on a stake. It was too perfect in a place this messy. Then it moved, gliding a few feet above the ground, smooth and silent. Kira felt her skin tighten. Lantern drone, she said. Joran looked where she pointed. Wraithline? He asked. Kira nodded. They sell water twice. First the bottle, then the person who drank it. The drone drifted closer and stopped at a distance that felt polite. Another light blinked on behind it, then another, as if it were marking a path across the flats. Not HFY-style. This was a lure for a tired animal. A voice came through a small speaker, friendly, warm, and wrong. Clean water cache. Medical supplies available. Bring the injured man. Thane's fingers flexed at his side, the way they flex when the body wants to move faster than the mind. Kira stepped in front of him without making a drama. We do not go, she said. It could be real, Joran muttered, and Kira heard the hope in it. It is real, Kira said. That is how the trap works. The lantern drone slid sideways and revealed a white container half buried in salt crust. The lid was propped open, showing bottles inside. The sight hit Kira's brain like a memory of cold drinks in grocery aisles, and she hated her own reaction. Thane stared at the container. His jaw tightened, and a tremor ran once through his hand. Kira saw his fever rising again and the flush creeping into his cheeks. Look at me, Kira said. Thane forced his eyes to hers. We have water coming, she said. It will be slow. It will keep you alive. That box is a hook. Thane breathed out through his nose, controlled. If I walk to it, I burn out, he said. Yes, Kira said. And if you burn out, Calyx does not need to catch you. The marsh will. Joran glanced at the tarp where the condenser began to drip, one bead at a time. He looked back at the box and licked his lips. How long? He asked. Kira kept it honest. Too long. But we do not borrow safety from strangers in this place. The lantern drone moved closer, then backed off, teasing. Its speaker played a new sound, a cough. A human cough, followed by a strained voice. Help. Please. Joran jerked. That sounds like someone from a crew. Kira felt Thane tense behind her. She did not let emotion run the room. That is a recording, she said. They want you to chase a voice. Thane swallowed hard. My head knows that, he said. My body does not. Kira reached back and squeezed his wrist once, firm. It was not comfort. It was a break. We do it our way, she said. We drink the slow drip. We keep the filter clean. We move when the fog shifts. The lantern drone hovered, patient and bright, like an exit sign in a hallway that led to a locked door. Kira ignored it and kept working the tarp until the condenser gave them something real. Thane drank another careful sip. His breathing steadied, but his eyes stayed fixed on the water cache like it was a promise he could taste. Kira hated Wraithline for understanding hunger so well. Kira first noticed it when she cleaned brine scrub and her glove came away with a faint slick film that did not smell like brine. It carried a cold, sterile bite, like air from a freezer aisle, and that made no sense out here. She looked at Thane's jacket and saw a faint frost-like sheen along one seam, as if the fabric had been kissed by something colder than the marsh. Thane had been sweating, and the mark should have vanished. It did not. Kira's mind snapped to the field triage case and the broken cold chain strip. "Thane, hold still," she said. He frowned. "What?" Kira leaned close to his collar and breathed through her mouth to avoid the fog. The scent was subtle, but it was there again. "Clean. Cold. Wrong. Cryo trace inert marker," she said. Joran blinked. "The what?" he asked. Kira kept it to 3 truths, because long explanations get people killed. "It is a harmless tracer used in cold packaging," she said. "It sticks to cloth and filters so handlers can prove a box stayed cold. If it is on you, someone can follow you without ever touching your blood." Thane's eyes narrowed. "So we're being tracked by the supply chain." "Yes," Kira said, "and we have to act now, because every minute you breathe through that filter, you spread it." The thought landed like a punch. They were not being hunted by a scanner. They were being hunted by logistics. Thane looked down at his jacket like it had betrayed him. Anger and fear fought across his face. "So what do we do?" he asked. Kira gave him the choice without dressing it up. "We ditch jacket and filter pads and lose warmth and clean air," she said. "Or we keep them and accept they can stay on our back like a shadow." Joran rubbed his face with a dirty glove. "If we ditch filter pads, we die in the fog. If we keep them, we might die with company," Kira said. Thane took one slow breath, then another. He was learning the discipline the shot demanded, the kind that looks like patience and feels like a fight. "We do not ditch everything," he said. "We split the trail." Kira watched him. "How?" she asked. Thane pointed a seal film and a scrap of tarp. "We wrap the worst pieces," he said. "My jacket and one used pad. We throw it crosswind and let the marker run away from us like a decoy." Joran stared. "And the rest of us?" "We keep one clean pad," Kira said. "We move upwind from the decoy. We make them choose which scent to chase." Thane nodded, a small motion that cost him effort. "And we do it before my fever spikes again," he said. Kira worked fast. She sealed the jacket and the used pad into a tight bundle, then tied it to a thin line like a kite tail. The wind caught it immediately, tugging it toward the low fog. Kira released it and watched it skim away across the flats, a ghost of their presence drifting in the wrong direction. For a moment, the lantern drone shifted as if it noticed. A second later, Kira saw a darker shape in the sky adjust its drift. The Hushkite drone had corrected course. Kira pulled Thane close to the depression where the condenser dripped and handed him one last careful sip. "Move when I say move," she told him. Thane met her eyes. "I will." Joran tightened his pack straps and looked out at the fog. "They are close," he said. Kira listened to wind and the distant steady pulse of guided lights. Both traps were active now, the clean lane behind them and the bright water lure ahead. They picked up their gear and stepped back into salt grass, choosing the only kind of safety left, the kind you make yourself. Not long after, they left White Salt Flats with a decoy bundle and a slow drip of water, but the hunt did not slow with them. Thane Arlo was still riding fever waves from Regan Vector 9, and Kira Moore needed him steady enough to cross Siltwound Channel without collapsing. Calyx Extractives was steering them toward a guided lane, and Wraithline Collective was pulling them toward anything that looked like help. Kira kept the goal small and urgent. Get into the channel where the wind broke and the fog thinned, then move before either side could seal the exits. If Thane started to sprint or panic, his body would spike and crash, and the marsh would finish what the crash began. Siltwound Channel looked like a drainage ditch the size of a highway, carved by old salt floods. The sides were slick with gray mud, and the bottom held water that swallowed reeds like it was hungry. The air down there was cleaner than the fog line, but only if you stayed above low pockets that hugged the mud. Thane tested each step with a metal probe, like a driver checking black ice. He was not moving faster, he was moving smarter, and Kira hated how much she depended on it. Every time he found solid ground before Joran did, she felt the quiet truth. The shot was helping, and the shot was charging interest. Kira touched Thane's sleeve as he stepped on a firmer silt. His skin felt hot, then cooled a beat later like his body could not agree with itself. "Talk to me," she said. "Where are you at?" Thane swallowed. "I feel fine," he said, then shook his head once. "That is a lie. My joints hurt, and my heart is racing." Kira shook salts into the water pouch. "Then you do the boring thing," she said. "Sip. Breathe. Do not chase anything." Joran Pike slid down the bank, and nearly fell when his boot hit a soft patch. Thane caught his strap and pulled him back with a quick clean motion. "Thanks," Joran said, breath tight. "Do not step where it looks darker," Thane said. "It is a skin. The mud under it is empty." Kira had no time to be impressed. She had time to survive. A faint shimmer drifted high above the channel, too patient to be weather. "Hush, kite," Kira whispered. Thane did not look up. "I know," he said. "One is on us. One is wide. So Calyx is still close," Joran said. Kira kept them tight to the channel wall, where iron root stalks broke sight lines. If Calyx wanted a clean view, she would make them earn it. Thane's breathing hitched, and his hand went to his chest. Kira caught his wrist. "Not now," she said. "Do not let it trick you into a sprint." "I am not," Thane said, but his voice sounded thinner. A low sweet smell rose from a pocket in the mud, like rotten fruit and cleaning chemicals mixed together. Thane's eyes watered. "Hold your breath," Kira said. Thane did, and Kira pulled him 2 steps higher. The smell faded, but his body paid anyway. His face flushed, then went pale, and sweat popped at his temples. Kira pressed a palm to his neck and counted. "Too fast again." "Stop," she said. "I can keep going," Thane replied. "You can keep going until you fall," Kira said. "Then you're not moving at all." She sat him on a dry patch with his back to the wall and forced him to drink slow. He tried to protest, and the effort turned into a harsh cough that made him wince. Joran crouched beside them, eyes scanning the channel mouth. "We are sitting ducks," he said. "We are sitting humans," Kira said. "If he burns out, we are done." Thane stared at his hands and flexed his fingers. His joints cracked softly, and his jaw tightened. "I can feel it when I push," he said. "It is like my body gets mad at me." Kira nodded once. "That is the price," she said. "So we do not push unless we have to." A faint pulse flashed above the rim, distant but steady. Somewhere, Calyx was still laying guidance lights, one calm cue at a time. Kira lifted Thane's chin slightly. "Look at me," she said. "We cross this channel, stay out of low fog, and keep your heat under control. That is our whole job." Thane met her eyes and nodded. "Okay," he said. "I will not run." They moved again, slow and deliberate, and the channel carried them forward like a trench, not safe but less exposed. Kira kept one hand near Thane's arm, ready to pull him back from his own impulse. Wraithline did not try to beat the channel with speed. They tried to beat it with sound. The first voice came from above, soft and human, like someone calling from the next room. "Kira? Kira, is that you?" Joran froze so hard his boot sank a fraction into silt. Thane's head snapped up before he could stop himself. Kira grabbed his sleeve. "Do not answer," she said. "It sounds like..." Joran started. "It is meant to," Kira said. "Keep moving." The echo beacon lure played the voice again, now with a cough and a broken laugh. Too perfect. Too clean. The kind of audio cut to hit the nerve. Thane swallowed and forced his gaze back to the ground. "They're using the crew," he said. "They only need to know what we react to," Kira said. A second beacon chirped farther down the channel, then a third. Sound bounced between mud walls and turned distance into a lie. Joran's breathing sped up. "What if someone is alive?" he asked. "If someone is alive, we cannot help if we get trapped," Kira said. "We survive first, then we help." They rounded a bend and saw a white lamp blinking low near the channel edge, bright enough to cut fog. Under it, a figure sat slumped against reeds. Visor cracked, suit streaked with brine mud. The figure lifted a hand slow, like it hurt. "Help," the figure said, and this voice was real, raw, uneven. Joran took a step without thinking. Kira blocked him with her shoulder. "Wait," she said. Thane's eyes narrowed. "That is Joran," he said, then corrected himself as the visor cleared. "That is you. But you are here." Joran stared at the injured man, like he was looking at a mirror that should not exist. "That is," he whispered. The injured Joran coughed and tried to push up. "I got separated," he rasped. "They said you were close. They said follow the light." "Who said?" Kira asked. "A woman on the channel," the injured man said. "She sounded kind." Thane's jaw tightened. "Wraith line." Kira looked down and saw the detail that turned her stomach cold. Mud near the boots was disturbed in a clean line, and a thin filament ran from the lamp base into reeds, nearly invisible. "Silt net," Kira said. Thane glanced at her. "Explain." "Fast," he said. "It is a net like a fishing net," Kira said. "It is buried under mud and snaps up when you step wrong. It pins you without noise, and they drag you out before you can fight. The lamp is the trigger." The thought hit like ice. The man was not the trap. The ground was. Joran took another half step, eyes locked on his own face. "We cannot leave him," he said. Thane breathed in, then out, controlled. His fever had eased for a moment, and Kira knew the next spike could hit if he pushed. "Thane, if you go fast, you crash," Kira said. "I know," Thane said. "I will go right." He moved along the bank, staying high, using his probe to tap the mud. Each tap asked one question, safe or hollow. The probe sank too easy. Thane angled away, dropped behind reeds, and crawled the last few feet, slow and precise. The injured Joran's eyes widened. "Do not come close," he said. "They are here." Kira saw a faint ripple above the fog, a lantern drone hovering just out of sight line. Light dimmed. The echo beacon lure chirped once, satisfied. Thane reached the injured man and did not grab his arm. He cut the lamp filament first, then shoved the lamp into mud to kill the light. The channel fell darker, and the fog felt heavier. A net snapped up anyway, but it snapped where it should have, a few feet left of Thane, catching empty air and reeds. The line hissed as it tightened, angry it had missed. "Move him," Kira said. Thane slid an arm under the injured man and lifted with controlled effort. The injured Joran cried out, and Kira flinched because sound draws attention. Thane did not stop. He dragged the man up the bank inch by inch, refusing to yank and spike his own heat. Kira grabbed the other strap and pulled in the same rhythm. Joran jumped in and hauled a boot. They got the injured man onto firmer ground, and the marsh answered with movement. A shape lunged from fog, low and fast, aiming for Thane's back. Thane pivoted and drove his shoulder into it. Not a clean punch, a hard shove into mud. The attacker went down with a grunt, and a second figure raised a line launcher. Kira yanked Thane back by his pack. "Strap. Go," she said. They ran just enough to clear the trap zone without turning it into a sprint. Thane's breath stayed measured, but Kira could see heat returning in the flush of his cheeks. They had saved the man, and now they had made noise. The chase tightened fast because both sides wanted the same outcome. Capture. Kira led them into a narrower stretch where channel walls rose higher and fog above looked like a ceiling. Thane kept the injured Joran moving, but every few steps the man sagged, and Thane had to catch him again. "We cannot carry him far," Kira said. "We do not leave him," Thane replied. "Not after we saw what they do." Joran wiped mud from his face and looked back. "They are coming," he said. "I hear drone rotors." Kira heard it too, faint like a fly on glass. Lantern drones, maybe more than one. She also heard something worse, a calm work channel tone in the distance. Calyx was still steering. The injured Joran coughed and tried to speak. "They said," he rasped. "Say it fast," Kira said. "They said a lot code," he said. "They joked about it, like it was a nickname." Thane's eyes narrowed. "What code?" he asked. "Chain ledger," the injured man said. "And then a string. I cannot repeat it right, but I heard it twice." The meaning hit like a slap. The log had not just existed. The log had been heard. Kira's stomach dropped. That meant the leak was already moving, not something she could fix by pulling a battery. Joran stared at the injured version of himself. How did they get that? He asked. Kira did not waste time on theory. Because something spoke when it should not have, she said. Or because Calyx saw it and it spread. Either way, it is out. Thane's breath hitched and his hand went to his chest again. Kira saw the tremor in his fingers, the early sign of another spike. Slow, Kira said. I am trying, Thane said, and his voice sounded like anger at his own body. Kira shoved salts into his hand. Chew. Swallow. Sip, she said. Thane obeyed. It did not make him comfortable. It made him functional. Ahead, the channel opened into a muddy bowl with scattered reed islands. Kira recognized it from site maps. Brackglass Sink. We crossed the islands, Kira said. We did not touch the shiny mud. And if they follow? Jorn asked. Kira dipped a strip of seal film into the edge mud and flung it onto a reed clump behind them, leaving a dark smear. That is our warning marker, she said. If they chase blind, they sink. A lantern drone rose through fog behind them, light muted but hungry. Farther up, a darker shape drifted with the wind. Hushkite. Kira felt both hunts overlap like a tightening knot. Wraithline wanted them pinned. Calyx wanted them guided into a clean pickup. The marsh did not care. Thane looked at the reed islands, then at Kira. His eyes were sharp, but a thin panic lived underneath. We cannot outrun them, he said. We do not outrun, Kira said. We outlast and outthink. They stepped onto reed, then rock, then reed again, counting every foothold. Behind them, a net line hissed from the mud, snapping up where they had been a few steps ago. The channel was running out, and the knot was tightening. Later, they could not keep running in circles through the marsh. Thane Arlo was getting closer to an immune blow-up, and Kira more needed proof that Calyx extractives had been moving Regenvector 9 through an illegal cold chain. If they could grab that proof at Calyx Spur Station and push it off-world, the hunt might change from a quiet cleanup to a public problem. Calyx and Wraithline were both still behind them, and both wanted the same short-term outcome. Catch the people and erase the trail. Kira's goal was the opposite. Make the trail loud enough that it could not be erased, then survive long enough to escape. The approach to Calyx Spur Station felt like walking toward an abandoned job site at night. Metal frames rose out of salt grass. Warning lights blinked with no one to see them, and the air smelled like rust and old coolant. The station sat on pilings above the mud, a boxy spine of modules and catwalks, half swallowed by fog. Thane leaned on his probe for a second and kept his breathing small. His face was pale under the grime, and sweat beaded at his temples like the fever was waiting for permission. 2 minutes, he said. Kira looked at him. 2 minutes for what? She asked. Before my heart starts trying to outrun my body. Thane said. He swallowed hard. If it happens, you pull me down. Do not let me fight it with speed. Kira nodded once. We get in, we grab what we need, we get out. Joran Pike kept watch behind them, eyes scanning fog. This feels like their home turf, he said. It is, Kira said. That is why it has records. They climbed a service ramp and stepped onto a catwalk that groaned under their weight. Every bolt looked tired, and Kira moved fast but careful, testing each step like a loose ladder. A door panel still had power, dim and stubborn. Kira pressed a gloved thumb to it. The lock hesitated, then clicked open like it had been waiting for someone to pretend they belonged. Inside, the air was colder, cleaner, and wrong for a marsh. It smelled like a grocery store freezer aisle, and Kira followed that smell down a narrow corridor lined with empty racks and taped warning strips. Coal Bay Lockhouse, she said. Joran frowned. What is that? He asked. Kira kept it simple. It is a walk-in freezer for sensitive stock, she said. Cold chain leaves footprints. We check it now, because if Calyx gets here first, they wipe it, and we lose the only story that beats their story. Thane's hand tightened on his probe. He looked like he wanted to sit down, and that scared Kira more than any drone. The lockhouse door was thick and sealed, handle built for gloves. The seal strip along the edge was newer than the rest of the station, and Kira could feel it even before she peeled it. Not repaired, replaced. Kira peeled the strip back and saw a second seam beneath it, a patch job pretending to be old. Someone opened it recently, Jorn whispered. Kira stepped inside and felt the cold bite through her suit. Frost clung to the walls in uneven patches, like the temperature had been cycling, not steady. A small reader panel blinked with a log screen, still running on backup. Kira did not hesitate. She popped the panel cover with a flat tool, pulled a memory chip, and slid it into her pocket. She snapped 2 quick images on her tablet, a temperature history and a shelf label tied to Regan Vector 9. Thane leaned into the doorway, eyes narrowed. That label is not normal, he said. It is a shadow. Label, Kira said. It looks boring. It points to a private chain. Jorn shifted his feet. Do we have enough? He asked. Kira scanned one more shelf and found an empty foam slot shaped exactly like the Regan Vector 9 vial. It was clean, too clean, like someone wiped it with care. Beside it sat a torn corner of packaging with a frost seal tag still attached. This was not a mistake, Kira said, voice flat. It was a system. Thane swayed just slightly. Kira saw his eyes lose focus for half a second. Thane, she said. I am here, he replied, but his voice sounded distant. He forced his breathing slow. Get what you need. Kira grabbed one more piece, a small crate lid with a printed lot band. Not the full code, but enough to prove the medicine passed through this lockhouse. She shoved it into Jorn's hands. Carry it, she said. If I drop it, we lose it. Jorn hugged it to his chest like a life vest. A soft beep sounded in the corridor behind them. Not an alarm, a polite ping, like a scanner waking up. Kira froze. Thane's eyes sharpened again, and for a moment he looked colder, calmer, all focus. They're close, he said. We do not get a second look. Kira snapped the lockhouse door shut and wiped the handle with her sleeve. It would not fool Calyx, but it bought a second. They moved back in the corridor, and Kira caught a faint clean scent in the vent air, cold and sterile, wrong for swamp. Cryotrace. Kira's mind clicked. They could not just run. They had to mislead. Kira did not plan to fight Calyx or Wraithline head-on. She planned to make them chase the wrong thing long enough for Thane's body to cool and for their proof to leave the station. That meant a false trail built from the same marker that was getting them tracked. They left Calyx spur station through a side hatch and dropped into salt grass where fog clung low. Kira guided them toward Fogline Verge, where wind shifted in sudden gusts and the toxic layer rolled thick. She pointed to a shallow pocket between reed islands. We build the scent here, she said. Then we leave on the clean side of the wind. Jorn looked at her. How, he asked. Kira pulled a small cold brick from her pack, still wrapped in seal film. Frost clung to it like it had been waiting. This, she said. Thane's eyes narrowed. You're going to spill cryotrace on purpose. Yes, Kira said. Not on us. On a ghost version of us. She opened the wrapping just enough to let cold vapor and faint marker smell slip out. Wind grabbed it and carried it along the fog line like perfume sprayed in a hallway. We do not need perfect, Kira said. We need convincing for a few minutes. Thane nodded, sweat running down his temple. Then we make them hurry. He moved to a pile of corroded scrap near the station pilings, metal eaten into sharp edges. He bent pieces into ugly caltrops and dropped them into mud paths that looked firm. What are you doing? Jorn asked. Making the ground bite back, Thane said. He planted a line anchor into a reed root and ran a thin cord low, just high enough to catch a drone skimming the fog. His hands shook, but his work stayed clean. A lantern drone rose from fog 100 yards away. Light dimmed. A second joined it, then a third, drifting in a loose arc wraithline had taken a bait. Kira stayed still and counted seconds by Thane's breaths. She wanted them committed deep into Fogline Verge, where the toxic layer would slow them better than any weapon. A darker shape slid above the fog, nearly invisible. Hushkite drone. Calyx was here too. Kira cracked the cold brick wider and let another burst of cryotrace roll out. The wind drew a clean trail away from their hiding spot. The lantern drones tilted and followed like fish turning toward food. Thane whispered now. They moved low and fast, but not sprinting, keeping wind on their faces. Kira watched Thane's posture because he wanted to run like a man escaping fire. He held it back like a man escaping fire inside his blood. Behind them, a lantern drone dipped too low and clipped one of Thane's scrap pieces. It jolted, spun, stabilized late. Another drone skimmed lower and hit the cord Thane had strung. It tumbled into mud with a muffled thud, light flickering as suction grabbed it. Joran almost laughed, then swallowed it, because laughter is noise. Kira kept moving with the proof like a weight she refused to drop. The crate lid knocked once against Joran's chest as he ran. The Hushkite drone adjusted, drifting toward Fogline Verge where the cryo-trace trail looked strongest. Calyx was following the same wrong scent, at least for the moment. Kira exhaled, controlled. They had bought minutes, not freedom. Thane staggered half a step. Kira caught his elbow. He said. It is coming back. Kira shoved salts into his palm and guided him behind thicker reeds. Chew. Sip. Then move, she said. Thane obeyed, jaw locked, eyes furious at his own limits. The fever was a clock, and it was speeding up. In the fog line, lantern drones disappeared into the toxic layer, chasing a scent that was no longer attached to a person. The marsh hissed like it approved. Kira did not. Lissa Quaid, a Wraithline broker and handler, did not chase them with lights this time. She chased them with hope. Kira's tablet buzzed once. A clean work channel opened on its own, the kind used when managers want to sound calm while something burns. Kira Morn, a woman's voice said, smooth and patient. You're doing a good job keeping him alive. Thane's head snapped up. Joran froze. Kira kept walking, one hand steadying Thane, the other holding the tablet down so its glow would not show through reeds. You have evidence from Cold Bay Lockhouse, Quaid said. You also have a man with a fever spiral. I can help with the second problem. The offer hit where it was meant to hit. Kira spoke once short. What do you want? She asked. Surrender, Quaid said. Bring the lot band and your tablet to a pickup. I deliver fever suppression and clean air. You walk away afterward. Kira kept her voice flat. You do not let people walk away. Quaid sighed like a manager disappointed by a stubborn worker. Calyx recovers assets. Wraithline sells them. I am offering the better cage. The meaning landed heavy. This was not a hunt anymore. This was a negotiated capture. Thane leaned closer, voice low. If you had suppression, how would you get it here? He asked. Through a retrieval window, Quaid said. A short pickup slot where everything moves fast and nobody asks why. Kira needed Joran to understand that concept fast. A retrieval window is like an airport gate call, Kira whispered. Time pickup. Once it opens, the door is close behind you. We act before. It opens or we get funneled into it. Joran's face went tight. So she's building a gate. Thane's skin flushed again and he swayed. Kira could feel the heat through his sleeve. Quaid's voice softened further, and that scared Kira more than anger. He is going to crash, Quaid said. You know it. I am giving you mercy because I am not Wraithline. Kira's jaw clenched. You are still hunting? Yes, Quaid replied, but I can keep him breathing while I do it. Thane closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them, fighting his body. Kira, he said, if I spike, I become dead weight. You're not dead weight, Kira said. Not yet, Thane whispered. Kira made the decision that mattered and did not dress it up. If Quaid controlled the next minutes, they were done. If Kira made the story public, Quaid's clean cage might crack. Kira pulled the thermal sump battery from her pack and set it in mud behind reeds. She clipped it to a small transmitter unit scavenged from the station. The unit looked like a busted radio duct taped back to life. Quaid's voice sharpened by a fraction. Do not do that, she said. Kira did it anyway. The transmitter hummed low and steady. It pushed the lockhouse temperature history, the lot band image, and the route label into the thin sky, searching for any receiver not owned by Calyx. The battery warmed as it dumped power. Kira felt the heat on her palm. She had lit a flare. Joran's eyes widened. They will see that. Yes, Kira said. That is the point. Quaid's calm finally broke. You just created your own retrieval window, Quaid said. Now my team knows exactly where to go. Kira's mouth went dry. She had expected the risk. Hearing it out loud made it heavier. Thane's breathing turned rough, and his knees bent like his body wanted to fold. Kira grabbed him and held him up. "Stay with me," she said. Thane nodded once, teeth clenched. "Move me," he whispered. A stronger beam swept the fog line, not a lantern drone glow. Another beam joined it from a different angle. Calyx and Wraithline were both turning toward the same flare. Kira killed the transmitter, yanked the battery loose, and shoved it back in her pack. The proof was gone, but the cost was immediate. They heard rotors then. More rotors, then a deeper engine note that did not belong to a drone. Jorn swallowed. "They're coming fast." Kira tightened her grip on Thane's arm. "We move before the gate closes," she said. Thane forced himself upright, shaking, eyes narrowed at the fog like he could will it to open. The fever was climbing, the hunters were converging, and the marsh offered only one kind of mercy. The kind you take by force. A little later, they had turned proof into a flare, and now the flare was pulling every predator in the marsh to the same place. Kira Moore needed to get Thane Arlo out before his fever tipped into a full crash, and she needed the evidence to stay alive by keeping herself alive. Calyx Extractives and Wraithline Collective were both closing in around Calyx Spur Station, and neither of them came to bargain. Kira kept the goal plane so fear could not twist it. Leave the station perimeter, break line of sight, and move toward terrain that drones hated. If Thane tried to sprint, his body would punish him, so they would win by timing and traps, not speed. Rotor noise thickened over the fog like a swarm finding a porch light. Search beams skimmed the salt grass, bright and clean, painting safe-looking lanes across a place that was never safe. The beams were not looking for blood. They were looking for movement, heat, and the story Kira had just broadcast. Thane held Kira's sleeve with a grip that was more disciplined than need. His skin was hot, but his eyes were steady, like the same shot that raised his fever had sharpened his focus on what mattered. "I can move," he said. "You can move at my pace," Kira replied. Joran Pike stayed close behind with the crate lid hugged tight under his arm. He flinched every time a light swept past, and Kira did not blame him. The lights were meant to tell you the only safe place was the place someone else controlled. A calm voice rolled out of a speaker near the station pilings. "Recovery route is active. Stay in the lane, and you will be assisted." Thane's mouth tightened. "Mirage corridor," he said. Kira nodded. They were painting a hallway in the fog. Ahead, a second set of lights flared lower and warmer, like lanterns on stakes. They flickered, in a pattern that felt personal, like someone calling your name without saying it. Jorn swallowed. "That one is Wraithline." Kira heard the difference too. Calyx wanted a clean pickup. Wraithline wanted a fast grab. A figure moved between the corporate beams, sealed hood, harness full of restraint gear. Recovery lead Bram Holt did not need an introduction. He stood like a man who expected surrender as the default outcome. On a parallel line of reeds, another figure crouched with a launcher aimed low. Hunt Captain style, Roan moved looser, ready to get messy if it ended quicker. They were not partners. They were competitors sharing the same parking lot. Kira pulled Thane behind a corroded support column and kept it simple. "They want you alive," she whispered. "Not safe. Alive." Thane nodded once. "So they can decide what I am." Jorn's breath shook. "What do we do?" he asked. Kira answered with action. She peeled a strip of seal film from her pocket, pressed it to salt grass, lifted it, pressed again, leaving a faint smear of cryo trace in a line that bent toward the brightest lane. She was writing a story on the ground, one that said they had panicked and run toward the lights. A lantern drone dipped low and followed the smear like a dog on a sidewalk. Another drifted after it. Wraithline was taking the bait fast. Calyx reacted slower, but not blind. Kira saw a Hushkite drone adjust above the station, drifting to catch the new wind line. That small hesitation was her window. Kira squeezed Thane's forearm. "Now," she said. They moved crosswind, low and quiet, slipping between reed islands where light sweeps broke apart. Jorn stayed close, breathing through his teeth, because the urge to run was loud and stupid and human. A net hissed up from the mud behind them and snapped at empty air. Sile Roan had fired early, convinced the fake trail was real. Good, Kira thought. Make them rush. Make them make mistakes. Thane stumbled once, not from mud, from heat. His breath turned rough, and his eyes flared with the instinct to outrun the feeling. Kira stopped him with a hard grip. "Sip," she said. Thane obeyed, taking a small mouthful of salted water like it was a rule. He swallowed and forced a slow exhale. "I hate this," he said. "I know," Kira replied, "but it keeps you standing." Two voices overlapped on open channels, each trying to own the moment. "Asset retrieval is corporate priority," a man's voice said, clipped and cold. "Director Orenval, safe somewhere far." A second voice cut in, smoother, amused. "Your corporate priority is my product," Broker Matrisen said, and the words sounded like a smile. Kira felt the hunt tighten and split at the same time. Calyx wanted to erase the evidence and fold Thane into a quiet report. Wraithline wanted Thane as a sample with a price tag and a buyer list. Lights shifted again, lanes rearranging like a maze moving its walls. Holt's team spread in a clean arc, sealing exits with discipline. Roan's people moved like shadows, trying to scare them into the open. "They're fighting over you," Kira told Thane. "That buys us chaos." Thane nodded, jaw clenched. "Then we move through the argument." They slid under a sagging catwalk where salt corrosion had eaten the metal into jagged teeth. Drones hated tight spaces. Nets hated uneven walls. Kira did not need a place to win. She needed a place to steal seconds. Kira did not need to outrun them. She needed to force a chase rhythm Thane's body could survive. They reached a low berm where brine mud formed a slick bowl. The surface shined like dark glass, beautiful in the wrong way. Brackglass sink. Joran's eyes widened. "That will swallow us." "It will swallow them too," Kira said. A lantern drone floated into view, light, warm, and gentle, almost friendly. Its speaker chirped once, then played a human cough and a strained voice. "Help me." Joran flinched. Thane's shoulders tensed. Kira did not argue with the emotion. She redirected it. "Thane, what do we do?" she asked. "We do not chase voices," Thane said. "We move on ground we tested." "Good," Kira said. Kira took the last sliver of cold chain wrapper she could control and dabbed it on a reed clump at the berm edge. Then she tossed it across the sink, letting wind carry cryo trace sent to the far side. The drones followed the scent arc, eager, dipping lower. Roan's people shifted in the fog, trying to sprint around the sink and cut them off. Holt's lights held back, waiting for a clean capture. Kira saw her opening. "Joran," she said, "take the crate lid and go right. Stay on the high reeds." Joran shook his head. "I am not leaving you." "You are not leaving," Kira said. "You are carrying the story. If they catch you, the story dies." Joran's throat worked. He hated it, but he understood it. He slipped into reed cover and moved toward a higher path. The crate lid held tight, like a fragile package. Kira turned back to Thane. "Small steps," she said. "We bait them, then we break away." Thane nodded, but his body betrayed him. He took one step, then another, and his boot sank deeper than it should. Brine mud grabbed him like a hand. Thane froze, eyes wide, breath pulling fast. "Kira," he said. Kira grabbed his harness strap. "Do not yank. If you yank, you sink." A beam swept across the berm. Kira saw Holt's silhouette on a catwalk above, calm as a supervisor watching a crew near a hazard. "Stop moving," Holt's loudspeaker said, steady and almost polite. "We can help you out." Thane's breath hitched. His fever wanted him to fight the mud with strength. The mud wanted him to do exactly that. Kira leaned close, voice firm. "Look at me," she said. "Breathe slow. Lift your foot 1 inch at a time." Thane forced a long exhale. His shoulders dropped a fraction, and his eyes narrowed with focus instead of panic. He lifted the trapped foot a little, set it down, lifted again, breaking suction in small stages. Kira wedged her probe under the boot edge, shifting the angle the way you shift a stuck tire out of a rut. She did not yank. She did not rush. She kept him boring. A net canister thunked into mud nearby and hissed as fiber spread. Roan's crew was trying to pin ankles and drag. Kira pulled Thane back one careful step, just enough to avoid the net's reach. Thane's face tightened as heat spiked, but he kept the breath rhythm. "You are doing it," Kira said. "I feel it burning," Thane said, voice strained. I know, Kira said. Stay boring. A lantern drone dipped too low, chasing the cryo-trace wrapper across the sink. The shiny mud grabbed it. It tried to lift, failed, and splashed brine up onto its own lens. Its light flickered as it fought suction. Kira almost smiled. Almost. Roan's voice snapped over an open channel, angry and sharp. Do not lose the sample, Roan said. The words made Kira's stomach twist. They were not hunting a person. They were hunting a condition. Holt answered on a different channel, colder. Contain the area, Holt said. Keep it clean. Fast capture versus clean retrieval. That clash was Kira's only advantage. Fane's boot finally came free with a wet pop. He staggered, and Kira caught him for a second, his full weight on her shoulder. Fane's head dipped like he might pass out. His skin was hot enough to scare her. Kira shoved salts into his palm. Chew, she said. Fane obeyed. He swallowed, breathed slow, then lifted his head again. Go, he said. Kira guided him along the berm edge, stepping only where reeds held. A searchlight swept again, closer now, and Kira knew the window was closing. She made the only move left that could keep Fane from being chased into a sprint. She made herself the obvious target. Kira wiped a strip of seal film across her own sleeve, spreading cryo-trace scent, then stepped into the open for half a heartbeat. Just enough for the nearest drone to see motion and smell the marker. Then she ran, not far, not fast, just enough to pull eyes and lights away from Fane's path. Kira, Fane shouted. Kira did not answer. She could not waste breath. A netline fired and caught her pack strap, yanking hard. Kira hit mud on her knees, brine splashing up to her waist. Pain shot through her leg, but she did not scream. Screaming gives hunters a map. She cut the net line and rolled into reeds. A drone dipped to follow. Kira shoved a corroded metal strip up into its path. The drone clipped it, spun, and drifted confused. Kira pushed back through reeds, lungs burning, and found Fane where he had stopped, waiting for her like an idiot with a good heart. You were supposed to keep moving, she hissed. Not without you, Fane said. Kira grabbed his sleeve. Then we moved together. Right now. They slipped into thicker cover as voices surged behind them. In the confusion, Kira heard Joran's distant steps on higher ground, steady and purposeful. Good, she thought. Let the proof keep walking even if we cannot. Joran led them to a place that looked like a broken bridge across a swamp. Iron rootstocks packed so tight they formed a raised walkway. Iron Root Causeway. It was a narrow ridge above the worst mud, and it mattered because drones could not skim low over it without clipping stalks. Nets could not hide under it the way they hid in silt, and they had to take it now. Open ground behind them was filling with lights, and the marsh was turning into a cage. Joran waited under a bent signpost and waved them in with two sharp motions. This way, he whispered. Kira and Fane climbed onto the causeway, boots crunching on dried salt and root bark. The path forced them single file, which was terrifying and perfect. Single file meant no sprint. Single file meant discipline. Fane's breath rasped. Kira could feel heat and then chills rolling through him. The fever was still there, but the crash edge was closer now. How did you find this? Kira asked. Maintenance routes, Joran said. Old notes. The kind nobody reads unless they are scared. A search beam swept the marsh behind them and hit the iron root stalks, making the whole ridge glow white for a moment. Kira flinched, then forced herself forward. Do not stop, she told Fane. I'm not stopping, Fane said, voice shaking. Behind them, Holt's loudspeaker boomed, closer now. Fane Arlo. Stop and you will not be harmed. Wraithline answered through a lantern drone, lighter and crueler. Do not listen to corporate. They will lock you in a freezer and call it care. Fane's jaw clenched. He kept walking. Kira leaned close and gave him the only rule that mattered. Eyes on the next step, she said, not on their voices. They reached a dip where the causeway thinned and the ground below shined dark again. Brackglass sink, wider here. We cross Reed Islands, Joran whispered. If you step on a shine, you do not come back fast. Kira nodded. We already learned. A lantern drone floated into view above the sink, light dimmed. A Hushkite drone drifted higher, almost invisible, watching like a hawk watching a narrow bridge. Kira's mind stayed cold. Calyx would try to guide them off the causeway into a clean lane. Wraithline would try to scare them off in a mud. Both paths ended the same way. Capture. Kira pressed one last tiny smear of cryo trace onto a reed clump on the far side. A small eye to pull eyes away from their real footfalls. Then she turned to Thane. Can you keep going? She asked. Thane swallowed and nodded once. If I stop, I fall. Then we do not stop, Kira said. They crossed reed to reed, slow and precise. Kira kept one hand near Thane's harness strap, ready to catch him before his body decided to quit. Joran moved ahead, counting steps like a man walking across a roof in bad weather. Behind them, lights kept searching. Nets hissed. Voices promised safety that was not safety. Then Kira's tablet pinged once, clean and real, like a text message landing in the middle of an emergency. A receiver had heard the evidence. No celebration came with it, just a short confirmation and the quiet meaning that the story was now bigger than the marsh. Thane saw Kira's eyes shift. Did it go through? He asked. Kira nodded. Yes. Thane exhaled slow. It was not relief. It was permission to keep suffering for a reason. Joran led them off the last reed island onto firmer ground beyond the sink. The air felt slightly cleaner. For the first time since the crash, Kira could imagine a horizon that was not made of reeds and search beams. But the hunt did not end with imagination. A corporate channel chirped, clipped and cold, just enough to carry meaning. Calyx Retrieval Division was active beyond the station perimeter. Asset status was updated. Thane's name had become a thing to collect. Kira tightened her grip on his arm. We keep moving, she said. Thane nodded, eyes forward. We live on discipline, he said, not on luck. They disappeared into darker marsh beyond Ironroot Causeway. 3 figures with a battery, a strip of proof, and a fever that would never again be just a fever. Somewhere overhead, the evidence traveled toward a receiver that might help them. Behind them, 2 different kinds of evil argued over who owned the right to take them back. Kira kept one hand on Thane's sleeve and counted his breaths like they were the only clock that mattered. Ahead, the fog thinned, the air stopped tasting like poison, and Thane's fever finally stopped climbing. Not gone, just controlled, with discipline instead of luck. Then Kira's tablet pinged, faint and clean. The lockhouse logs were confirmed. The cold chain trail was out, and they could not erase the story anymore. Thane heard it in her silence. So they can't. Erase us? He asked. Not completely, Kira replied. They did not win freedom. They won a road, and they would have to pay for every mile with boring, stubborn survival. Because the evidence was gone, but the hunt was not. If you enjoyed this grounded science fiction survival story, please hit like to support the channel. Share it with a friend who loves hard science fiction and human resilience tension. And subscribe to Quantum Voyager Stories, because the next chapter is where the hunters get smarter.